Welcome everybody to another episode of the Future of BizTech. I'm your host, JC Granger, and I'm here with Soumyadeb Mitra, who is the founder and CEO of RudderStack. Soumya, thank you so much for coming on the show. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and the company.
Thanks for having me, firstly. My name is Soumyadeb Mitra, or Soumyadeb Mitra. That's my full name. This is my third company. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I sold my previous company to a company called 8x8, spent a year there, and then we started RudderStack in June 2019. I have a background in engineering. I have a PhD in databases, worked in data for pretty much all my life. After my PhD, I joined a company called Data Domain, spent a couple of years there, learned a lot about how to grow a startup. The company went IPO, eventually was acquired. So that was a great experience learning in a fast growing startup. And then I started a company, did that for 5 years. I was the co-founder, CTO, sold that to 8x8, and then spent a year there and then started RudderStack. So that's my quick background.
Yeah. So what about RudderStack? What kind of problems does it solve for its clients? I was taking a look at the website earlier, but why don't you kind of give the audience that full rundown of RudderStack and exactly what it does for companies?
Yeah, so we call ourselves as a customer data pipeline company. What that means is if you are any kind of a consumer or a business, right? I mean, consumer company or a B2B company, you want to understand what your customers are doing in your app. So let's say if you're like a fintech company, or if you are like a consumer shopping company, and then you want to track everything that your customers are doing, like all the product searches they are making in the app, like all the buttons they are clicking and all this stuff, right? And you may ask, why do you want to do that, right? The first reason is to just understand your customers better, right? I mean, you want to understand what parts of the app they go to and what buttons they click on, what parts of the app is working better and not, and so on. Right? So that's pure product analytics use cases. Then you also want to use that data for marketing. So for example, based on your prior product searches, you want to make them offers. And I mean, if somebody came to the checkout page and did drop off, then you probably want to give them a discount coupon. Right? So those kind of marketing things you want to do based on their prior activity in the app. And then there are all kinds of advanced machine learning use cases, right? I mean, based on all this data, you want to train a recommendation engine, right? People who click on this also click on that, right? How is that whole thing trained? Because you are tracking what people are doing in the app, right? Amazon does that, and all consumer companies want to do that. And there again, these are consumer B2C kind of company use cases. They're B2B use cases also, right? I mean, when you're selling to other businesses, that's where also you want to understand what your potential leads are doing. They come to the website, what pages they go to, are they checking out the pricing page, what things are they doing in the free tier of the product? All these things you want to track so that you can sell better, that you can do more personalized selling. Now, all this requires you to collect all that data, right? And you should be able to track all the data. Now, prior to there are a bunch of solutions to do that. I mean, you can use a cloud analytics product. You can send everything to Google Analytics and analyze all that. But there has been a recent trend around companies trying to take more ownership of that data. Right? Instead of sending it to a third-party service, I want to collect all that myself, dump it into some kind of a data warehouse, and do my own analysis. Not just for data privacy and security reasons, but also general, if you have access to that data, you can do a lot more things. You can do more analysis, more advanced analytics and so on, which you cannot do on a cloud platform. So again, long way to, that's what we enable customers to do. So they can use our product and we have a hosted service. We have an open source product. They can also download our software and run it themselves to help collect all this data.
Well, I like that it lets them keep a hold of their own data, because you're right, that has been an issue, with third parties, managing data and whatnot. So the fact that it allows a company to really kind of keep their data in-house in that sense is really nice. Now, that being said, what kind of companies are typically the ones that hire you? Are you going after, small businesses, mid-market, Fortune 1000? What kind of companies are typically the ones that hire you guys to use your services?
Yeah, so we have a product. So what we sell today is a cloud hosted service that people can use. And then we also have an open source product that anyone can download and set it up. And then we have an enterprise version of the product, which like appeals to like larger enterprises. We can, like, that has more advanced features. So like we have kind of like three product lines, like three product offerings. Open source, anyone can set up and download. And on that, we have like hundreds of companies deploying that. I mean, all the way from like small companies to like pretty large brands, like Goop, for example, is deploying that and so on. So that's on the open source version. On the cloud version, again, we have like a spectrum of companies, right? All the way from like small startups, like series A, B, like 10, 15 people startups to like larger enterprises. Like Acons, for example, is a fintech company. They're like 500 people. They're using RudderStack. And we have some pretty large consumer brands using RudderStack. Like for example, the largest grocery delivery company out of India, out of Russia, out of Turkey. For some reason, we have like good traction in the grocery delivery space. So like they're all using RudderStack, paid version. And then we have some like large enterprises using the enterprise version of the product. So, I mean, there are a couple of POCs we are doing. I don't think I can name those companies till we close them. But these are like really like Fortune 100 companies who value the data ownership quite a bit, and they cannot use a cloud hosted service. So that's why they're using RudderStack. So like it's kind of has been like all over the place, from like small companies, open source, like developers, to all the way to like very large enterprises.
So let me ask you a question. You said this was your third company, correct? Is your third business? So what motivated you to start, this one? Why was RudderStack the next logical step for you after the last two companies? Yeah,
I mean, so it kind of all like adds up, right? I mean, my previous company was in the marketing tech space. So we are building a marketing tech, ad tech platform for B2B businesses. So think of it as if you are like the marketing VP of marketing at Cisco, and you sell routers, and you want to reach out to all IT people in Fortune 500 companies, right? So how do you do that? So we had a database of all that. Right? We could show them ads. We could show them like ads on Facebook, Twitter, display. We could like send them emails. So we built a complete marketing platform to do that. So kind of I've been working in the marketing space, and like while working there, I saw that like one big gap was all these companies are like trying to collect data about their users. I mean, like showing ads to new people is interesting, but they also want to understand like what our existing people are doing with the product and so on. So I kind of saw the problem in my previous startup too. Now there was this broad area called customer data platform, like that was kind of taking off at the same time. So like I've been kind of following that space. Then I went to 8x8, and we sold the company to 8x8, spent a year at 8x8 trying to solve similar problems, right? I mean, again, 8x8 was a public company, 25-year-old company, like a lot of, we had over 100,000 customers, over 1 million people using our phone systems. And we had a lot of data about those, right? And which we are not collecting, we are not analyzing all that data. And there again, like all these kind of interesting use cases we could have derived from collecting that data, right? As we were saying, like product analytics, marketing, and so on. But there was no easy way to collect that data. I mean, there were a couple of solutions, but we had the same set of challenges, right? Being in a regulated industry, we had like compliance requirements and all that stuff. So there was not a great solution to help collect all the data. So that was also the impetus. I thought like, okay, if 8x8 has problems, like then I'm sure there are dozens of other companies would need a solution like that. So again, I think it's not like an idea that you get like overnight. I mean, I've kind of worked in the space for the last like 7-8 years, kind of firsthand faced the problem in a large public company. And that was kind of the motivation for starting RudderStack. So I think most B2B companies start that way, right? I mean, you face the problem in a real domain, and then you kind of go and try to solve that.
So what's the user interface like once you have this data? I mean, we're so used to our data going to third parties, but that's because they typically manage it well visually for us, make it easy to do something with, right? So I guess my question is, how much efforts have you guys put into the user experience? So even if I have all my data, like how am I seeing it? Can I still API it out to a third party if I want to, for example? So like for another company that maybe does really good at sorting that data in a certain way. So do I still have the option of releasing that data securely to a third party if I want to?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And that's exactly what we do, right? I mean, there are a bunch of solutions which will help you collect all the data and dump into like some kind of a data warehouse. And and or like some kind of a data lake, right? We dump all the data, but to your exact point, I mean, it's very hard to visualize that data. Your marketing team does not want to look into a data warehouse and run SQL commands and so on, right? It's kind of, they want to manage it in a better product, right? Where you can create audiences, run campaigns, so they want a complete SaaS solution for that, right? So your marketing team needs that. Your product analytics team may want to use some other cloud hosted analytics solution, right? For their use case. At the same time, you also, your data engineering team or your data science team, they don't care about the UI. They want the raw dump into some kind of a data warehouse or data lake where they can do their machine learning training and so on. I mean, that's they want the raw data. They don't care about the UI. So you have all these different consumers of that data in an organization, from the marketing to sales to support. They all have their best of breed tools where they want that data in. And that's what we do at RudderStack. So we'll help you collect all the data, and you can define policies, say that this set of data should go to a product analytics solution, right? And you can do things all the PII should be scrubbed off, right? I mean, if you're sending to a product analytics just to look at funnels and so on, you don't need to send PII data there, right? So you can do that through a RudderStack, and you can say that only these set of events go to a product analytics. You may not care about tracking every click and every product search, right? So
you can filter and you can filter and segment who sees what from your data too. That's good. Okay, cool. As a marketing guy, my brain always goes there, and I know that the audience can benefit from hearing how different business owners are getting their own business out there, right? So what kind of marketing are you guys using to tell people about RudderStack? And then what have you found that's been working the best?
Yeah. So that's a very interesting question. And we are a 1.5-year-old company. So by no means we have kind of figured it out, right? What is working, what is not. We're still learning that. Now,
I've been doing this 20 years and I can barely figure it out. Jeez, it changes so quick.
Exactly, right? Yeah. But I think the first thing on that is what persona are we going after? So we are primarily selling to engineers, people and engineers, both in small companies, but as well as large enterprises, right? It's a very bottoms up selling motion. And most open source companies are like that. Some engineer in some company downloads it, sets it up, thinks it's working, and then they reach out to us for more advanced features. So the marketing for us is to figure out how to go and market to engineers. And that's always tricky, right? Engineers hate talking to salespeople. They hate marketing, right? The old school marketing, they would never click on ads. Most of them would have some kind of ad blocker in place. So the way to reach them is write great content. So content could be blogs, could be even code, right? I mean, we are an open source company, so we have a GitHub repo with all the code open source, right? So, and then the code is also some kind of a content, or you're writing some interesting blogs, and then you try to promote that in communities where engineers are, right? So Hack and Use is a great community. I mean, I don't know if you know Hack and Use, but it's one of the number one. It's kind of like Reddit for developers, right? Every developer is on Hack and Use, and if you somehow get on the first page of Hack and Use, then 1/3 of world's developers get to know about you or see you, right? So we have been kind of fortunate to get there on a couple of times, right? Both on our GitHub repo, where you host our code, that went on first page. 1 or 2 of our blogs went to first page. So that kind of helped get exposure to the developer community. And then we have kind of done things around that, right? Written blogs for there are a couple of developer focused blogs, right? Dev.to, Newsstack, TechCrunch, for example. So again, the way to market to developers is to write great content and somehow promote in the communities they are on. So still figuring out. I mean, it's not. I mean, I'm not a marketeer. I mean, so just learning and seeing.
No, I mean that's still helpful though, because some people listening are they do have this is very a tech community that for our audience. So they probably have businesses that have a difficult demographic to go after also. So your advice being, very content heavy, expertise style, that makes sense. So no, thank you for sharing that. That's good. Where do you see the future of kind of that cloud stack technology industry going? So as an industry as a whole, where do you see your industry going in, 4 or 5 years? Like what's kind of the future of that? What can people look forward to, do you think?
Yeah, I think And this is a very interesting question. And I have my own belief that may or may not align with what other people believe, right? So if you look at the 90s, right, there was like people were setting up their own stack, right? Like you'd buy Oracle and you buy SAP, and then you buy like, or you buy Oracle database, you buy like some application software like SAP, and then you build your own application completely from scratch, right? From on top of that. And then that is your CRM, that is your like that's where you track all your customer data, and that is your ERP. So that was the 90s. Then came the all the SaaS revolution, like starting with Salesforce. You know, everything, like you don't have to manage all that. Give everything to like a cloud provider, right? Send everything to Salesforce, and they'll track all their customer data and everything around customer data, right? So and then there's like a suite of SaaS companies, right? Salesforce is tracking your customer data, your Google Analytics has your analytics data, and so on. Right? And there are like 50 SaaS companies people are like putting together. Your marketing stack has started now becoming very complicated with all these SaaS products for different things. Now, the challenge with that approach is now you start losing some control over your data, right? I mean, your data is all over the place. You don't have any consistency, and then you have all these syncs running, right? I mean, you have seen marketing stacks, right, where you have data in some kind of a marketing automation system that is syncing to Salesforce, that is syncing to something else, right? You have this one-off syncs running between like 50 different places, right? So yeah. plus there are challenges with data now. Like more and more companies are realizing that you want to take ownership of your data for various reasons, like privacy, security is one thing, but also like the kind of flexibility that you have if you have your own data, right? I mean, Salesforce only lets you access your CRM in certain ways, right? I mean, you can use their UI, you can use certain applications. I cannot send clickstream data to Salesforce and like use it for training machine learning things, right? I want that data in somewhere else. So I feel there will be this decoupling of data and application going forward. So it went, everything was coupled. It was on your data, like 90s was your everything, your application and data, all in your data center. Everything went to cloud, right? Your data is on the cloud, hosted, and your application is also on the cloud, like hosted by Salesforce or somebody else, right? We will probably see a cycle back from there, like where like your data would be under your control, where you have more like direct access to your data. And then there are all kind of applications on top, right? There will be like a CRM application and so on, which may be cloud hosted, like managed by somebody, but like the data stays with you. So I believe there will be this unbundling of like data and applications in maybe not 5 years, but like definitely in 10 years. And the infrastructure required to manage this data is also becoming easier. If you look at Snowflake, right? It was the biggest IPO ever. And why is that? Like more and more companies are putting all their data into Snowflake in a cloud data warehouse. So like keeping track of your data is getting cheaper, easier, and so on. So that will only drive more of this. And that's kind of the core thesis of RudderStack. I think like we believe like once you have this decoupling of like applications and your data, then you need to run these pipes, right? I mean, you have to move data around and so on. So that's where we kind of play, if that makes sense.
And where do you see your company in 5 years? Like, do you guys have any new features or tech that you're releasing soon that you want to give the audience a little preview about, or anything like where's RudderStack going?
Yeah. So, I mean, there is like a 3-month story to that. There is a 6-month story, and there is a 5-year story to that, right? So well, actually there is a 3-week story also, right? In 2 weeks, we are launching like a big feature. So, and it's kind of details. I don't know if it's relevant for your audience, but like, I mean, generally so far we have been kind of helping our customers collect clickstream data. So you have your app, you embed our SDK, and you collect all the clicks and like everything that happens in your app, right? You can track all that, and we'll collect all that. We'll dump into your data warehouse. We'll send it to wherever you want to send it to, right? That was the piece that we had so far. Now, one other big source of customer data is your cloud data. So you have data in Salesforce, you have data in Marketo, and like all other cloud applications, right? So when you kind of try to bring that together, you have to pull data from the cloud sources also. So that's one big feature we are launching in like 2 weeks. And the third thing we are also seeing is, okay, you got all this data into your data warehouse, right? And then you did some like modeling on top of the data. Like, for example, you computed like a next best product to show to a customer. or you computed a score for that customer, right? What is it, a high value customer or a low value customer? Mm-hmm. You did some computation on your warehouse, could be like a machine learning model, could be like a simple computation. And you want to take that data and you want to sync it to some kind of a marketing tool. Like you want to send it to like some kind of a emailing tool, so that you send out an email based on those computations, right? For a high value customers, you may want to give them some special coupon, right? So mm-hmm. you need that reverse pipe, take data from your warehouse back into all these tools so that you can run those campaigns. So that's the third part we are launching. So the way I see about RudderStack is like event stream to pull all your clickstream data, the cloud connectors, cloud extract, which we are calling, so to pull data from all your cloud applications. And then once you put it in your warehouse, you do some magic there, and then you want to push it back to all these applications. So that's the third piece we're calling the warehouse actions. So these are the three pieces. They kind of complete the cloud, the customer data pipeline story. And then like we are excited to launch that in 2 weeks.
And that's really exciting. And actually, by the time this airs, it'll already be launched, just from the delay of publishing. But so do you only work with data in apps, or is it like web apps, mobile apps? What about just off my website, for example? So I guess my last question about your company is, where specifically, or where do you mostly find your clients are using your stack? Is it like mobile app companies, web app, or just like e-commerce where they have a lot of data coming in from sales and stuff, things like that, and a lot of action on their website?
Yeah, so it is like mobile apps and web apps. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, between those two, if I had to take a guess, like in terms of customer base, like pretty much everyone has like a web property and a mobile property. Like all consumer companies have that. So I think across our customers, 80% are using RudderStack to do both mobile and web tracking. But in terms of event volume, if I had to take a guess again, I think 70% would be mobile traffic, right? Because there's just too much activity compared to web. So that's what, I mean, is primarily used for. RudderStack is also used for like server-side tracking, right? When you have a backend application and those are generating events, we can also generate events from that. So we have SDKs for pretty much all the platforms, right? All the way from like mobile apps, web apps to like server-side SDKs.
So, Soumya, you've been, like you said, been an entrepreneur your whole life, it seems like, right? Professional life anyway. What is, if you had to give one piece of advice to the audience based on your experience, either previously or with this company, what's the one thing that you would advise, everyone from everything you've learned? Yeah, I mean,
I can only give advice around like being an entrepreneur, like, and by no means I'm like a super successful entrepreneur. So like take that with a grain of salt. But one thing is like the market always wins. So that's one thing I have learned again and again. I mean, you may have the greatest product and the greatest team, but if the market is not there for what you're building, then market wins, like you lose. Yeah. If you have a lousy product and a lousy team, but a great market, even then the market wins. Like you'll do okay. And
you can just skate by, right?
Exactly. And if you have a great team and great product and a great market, that's when magic happens, right? So it's actually a quote from somebody. I mean, I forgot who, but so market always wins.
I like that. I haven't heard that, but I actually really like that. As a marketer, my mind takes that and the way I would see that for myself is, well, that just means that one of the biggest parts of the equation is targeting the right people, right? Because if the market always wins, that means that you have to make sure that you're targeting the right market, right? So if you pick the market first in a way, and then reverse engineer what to provide them within, of course, something that you're passionate about, educated about, you ever just chase the money. That's a losing equation. But, if you say, well, I want to help out these people, and then you say, well, what do I know? Do I like doing that could do that? And there's a market for it. Then that seems like kind of essentially what you're saying with the market always wins. That's the best equation.
I mean, I've learned that hard way in my previous two companies. My first company was right out of college. I mean, I was like fresh out of college, had no idea about like marketing and anything. I was like an engineer and thought like, okay, I had this cool project I did in college. Why don't I like go and like sell this? And it didn't go anywhere. Like there was no market for that. Even in my previous company, we thought we had a good market. Like we are trying to build like an ad tech platform, but But the challenge there was like, there was a market, but the market was very hard to penetrate, right? It is kind of dominated by the big guys, right? The LinkedIns and the Facebooks and so on. So even there, it was very hard for us to like go and sell in the market, although we had a great team, right? I mean, we had like PhDs from Stanford, and like, I mean, both my co-founders were ex-McKinsey. Like we had the best possible team and that could be on paper. But even then, it was not like the greatest outcome for a company. So I'm very bullish about my current team. Like we have a really great team and so on. But I think like what is really different here is the market. I mean, has been again a year and a half. It's a long way to go. But I mean, I can see like a stark difference in the first year of my previous two startups and my current startup. So yeah, I think hopefully something great comes out.
Well, congratulations for this next one here. Soumyad, thank you so much for being on the show here. How can the audience reach you or the company if they're interested in your services or reaching out to you?
Yeah, I mean, best way to reach me is email. I'm kind of old school. I prefer email over social. So yeah, I mean, it's my first name, which is hard to pronounce, but yeah, it's like Soumyadeb @rudderstack.com or @gmail.com, either way. Yeah, that's the best way to reach me.
And then RudderStack, right? RUDDER stack.com.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, listen, Soumyad, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon, sir.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me again. And yeah, nice to meet you.
Bye.